Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. There's a reason why I've struggled. I've struggled with my Cowboys content. There's a reason. And today is a reminder of that. I still always love this franchise. Nobody's ego, no one person, no one thing can take this away from me. Um, and if I have to suffer for the rest of my life, I got to suffer for the rest of my life. It is what it is. But today is just a reminder of like the struggle it is to talk about this team and to talk about these situations when it almost seems like hope is just ripped from you before we even get to start anything, and just sucks. Freaking sucks. Obviously I'm reacting to the news of Micah Parsons being traded to the Green Bay Packers, and he signs a 4-year extension. um, the biggest thing out of it, out of the details, is $136 million guaranteed. I believe it's the largest contract in NFL history for a non-quarterback. And in return, because there is a return here, and I know after the documentary, people are getting up to speed or reminded of how the '90s Cowboys became the '90s Cowboys was spearheaded by the Herschel Walker trade with the Minnesota Vikings when they had the arrangement to cut the players that were included in that deal in exchange for the picks, and those picks leading to multiple first rounders, which builds out a lot of that core that shaped that '90s Cowboys team, starting with Emmitt Smith the following year in 1990. This is not that. This is not no damn Herschel Walker trade. Okay. Um, Essentially, Kenny Clark, those of us who are in the Dallas area where we live, and Luka Doncic and and Micah Parsons are traded in the same calendar year. It's just funny because Kenny Clark becomes the Anthony Davis of the deal, essentially. Very good player, 3-time Pro Bowler, fills a need at D tackle that we've had for Lord knows how many years. It feels like Jerry is trolling us. Jerry and Steven are trolling us by filling the deep, finally getting a more premier type player at the defensive tackle position at the expense of one of a budding potential Hall of Fame edge rusher, one of the best pass rushers in the league, definitely one of the guys who has one of the highest pass rush win rates. The things that you value, the things that make offensive coordinators stay up at night to defend you, you know, um, those type of things. But hey, we got a defensive tackle. We also got 2 first round picks, um, and those first round picks, as Cameron, good call out here. Those picks are going to be in the late 20s, essentially 30s. I've been my phone's been blowing up. I'm sure any of you guys that are Cowboys fan, your phone's been blowing up since the announcement of this trade, late afternoon essentially. But I've been arguing with some people because I know there's people that are favorable of this trade, and because it's nuanced, right? Micah Parsons did make a trade request, right? He did demand a trade publicly. That is factual. That happened, right? I think a lot of folks, myself included, thought, well, this is just typical Jerry negotiation, blah blah blah. We've seen this however many times. Again, documentary, Emmitt Smith held out into the season following a Super Bowl, so we are used to dealing with mess, even when we were successful. We purposely make things cloudy. We purposely make things messy. However, when they decide to essentially say that things had gotten personal and there was a disconnect now ego comes into play, right? And it's just unfortunate that as old as Jerry is, what has he learned? Like you would think that wisdom or patience or something uh, would come at some point to say, hey, what's best for the organization, what's best for winning, especially while I have Dak and CD and these guys under contract. You know, I refer to that documentary a lot because Troy Aikman in that documentary, I can't remember what episode it was, but one of the clearest quotes that stuck out to me was Troy Aikman saying, "You are learning on the job while I am in the prime of my career. You and your family are learning how to do this. Y'all don't know how to do this." They said that. When they came into the NFL, they don't know how to run an NFL org. You guys are learning on the job, and you're still learning on the job 30 something years later while I'm playing, while I'm in the prime of my career. And it just goes to show, like, because they traded him to the ops. It's not even like they traded him to like Carolina or traded him to like the AFC. He's in Green Bay. Like they traded him to a team. You were just crying. You were just crying about Green Bay upsetting you in your house. And you traded him to them? What the fuck? I don't like it blows my mind. I mean, here's the other thing too. David Mulugheta, the unquestionable winner in all of this. David Mulugheta, super agent, athletes first. UT grad, by the way. Um, David Mulugheta, shit, by the time it's 2030, he might have $2 billion in contracts of NFL guys he signed. Like, that's how dominant of an agent he's become. I mean, you think about these record breaking deals. He got Deshaun Watson paid. Come on now. That guy is a super agent. But David Mulugheta, who did the Jordan Love deal, right, and has a very strong relationship with the Packers front office, where do you think all these leaks were coming from? It's very obvious who they wanted, who they were dealing with. What at what point do you decide to exercise your leverage, or at least in the same thing? It's kind of funny in the same vein of the Mavericks thing. Well, you get the report, I think earlier today, like, oh, the Cowboys are taking calls. The Cowboys are taking calls. But then you do business with the preferred vendor of the agent that you don't want to talk to, who's in great standing with the Packers front office. This almost reeks of elder abuse by Green Bay and David Mulugheta. It almost reeks of elder abuse. Was Steven in the room? I mean, not that Steven's competent, but like what? I don't know. I'm sure they're going to release a statement. I don't really care what they have to say. This is just par for the course for this organization. And yeah, the deal was already done. The Packers already knew. They already had the money ready to go. Like signed, sealed, delivered. He's yours. The Packers, right? Community-owned franchise. You traded him to the ops. That's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. I'm disgusted. I am disgusted. And I'm disgusted because there's I'm not saying he shouldn't have been traded. I'm not going to sit up here and act like he should not have been traded. The press conference is on now. Okay. Well, I'll check it out. If there's something noteworthy, y'all let me know in the comments, please. If you hear something you want to discuss, let me know in the comments. But I guess I'm disgusted. I mean, obviously for several reasons, but nobody cares about that press conference. Y'all funny. Um, but I look at Micah, homegrown guy you developed, guy that again I'm just looking at the value. Like the Jets traded freaking Jamal Adams, who's has no value in this league anymore. But they traded Jamal Adams for 2 first-round picks, got a third, got McDougal. They gave up a fourth. Like, that's what Micah Parsons was worth? Essentially that, 2 firsts and a player on the same side of the ball? You telling me that's the type of value we're able to get out of this? Like, we couldn't even get more. My thing is the same thing I said with the Luka trade. Like, where are the volume of picks? Right? Like, people talk about the Herschel Walker trade. That trade was special because you got 6 picks. 6. I understand getting Kenny Clark's a good player. He's coming off not the best season. Does he help you? Yes. You're gonna have to figure some things out with Osa. He plays 3 technique. Kenny's a 3 technique. I mean, but okay. Here's the thing: who on the Cowboys defense is any offensive coordinator staying up at night trying to figure out what our protection scheme is to block this person? Because to me, that's the greater point of this game when you look at especially the NFL level. Who are you staying up at night to block? We have some good complementary pieces if Micah's on the defense. If Micah's here and you're talking about okay, Dante Fowler coming back who was hot on the played for us before when Dan Quinn was here and was okay on the Commanders and then really just tapered off and then we re-signed him. Are we talking about Sam Williams coming back from injury? I like Donovan Ezeraku out of Boston College. That was a great pick, but he's a rookie. I like Marshawn Nealon and what he can become. He's a young guy. We know there was a Cold War in the locker room between DeMarcus Lawrence, Tank Lawrence, and Micah Parsons. Now they're both gone. 2 foundational pieces of your defense. Both of them are gone. Interesting. Nice to listen to this. What it Dak and CD and George Pickens, God bless you guys. Because y'all are just gonna have to go out there and be Star Wars on offense. Do I think that I mean, do I think that Matt Eberflus can put together a scrappy squad and get something out of some of these linebackers, some of these guys, and have an okay season defensively? Maybe. We'll see. I have questions about the coaching staff. I don't have questions about Matt Eberflus. I think he's a good defensive coordinator, but he doesn't have an infinity stone on that side of the ball right now at any level. And then offensively, I like our weapons offensively. I don't like our running back room, but I like what we have in the pass game. And I like what we can foundationally do on the offensive line. However, Brian Schottenheimer is calling plays. I have a decade worth of data saying that he's pretty shitty at that. That's just facts. He has never been a good play caller in my lifetime. And now he's the head coach and the play caller. I don't have time to sugarcoat stuff. I think he's a good talker. I think he could be a good CEO, head coach, like a Dan Campbell. But once you're like, oh yeah, he's also calling the plays. Maybe Dak Prescott helps some of that at the line of scrimmage, but that's the situation Dak has always been in. So it is what it is. It is what it is. But at least I wish I was making a video here where we're talking about the boatload of picks we were getting back. or another sub 25-year-old player. Somebody said, well, we didn't even get Rashawn Gary out of that. Like, I mean, look at that Packers. Look at the versatility of the defenders on the Packers and how they'll be able to play people moving forward. Also, those of you who keep telling me, and this is also for the people in my group chats and all this type of stuff, those of you who are telling me that you couldn't justify paying X amount of dollars, please understand where the money is going in this league due to the collective bargaining agreement. 10 years ago, y'all were saying that it would be crazy to pay a quarterback $35 million. 5 years ago, people thought it'd be crazy to pay Dak Prescott $40 million. I remember I was on YouTube 5 years ago. We were talking about this. 5 years later, quarterbacks are making 50, 60 million. The cap in 2018, by the way, was what, 177 million, roughly? 177 million. You know what the cap is today? The cap today is what, 280 million. The estimated cap in 2030 is going to be 450 million when the new CBA kicks in. So the only thing that really matters is what percentage of the cap does that player take up on an annual basis. That's the only thing I care about. I do not care about how much money people are saying, oh, well, $47 million is crazy. Well, 10 years ago, we said $20 million is crazy. Do the math. Don't talk to me about ball if you don't understand the numbers at this level, or you don't want to have an understanding of the numbers. You're just throwing out numbers out your ass. Please do the math. Because the numbers, the way that the cap has operated and the way where the cap was, some of the numbers y'all are throwing out are just outdated. Like, that's where we're moving. The league is only getting bigger. They're also playing more games. Like, you have to pay for talent. You have to pay. The Bengals defense sucks. They still had to pay. The Raiders still paid Max Crosby. The people that defend this are either Jerry meat riders, people that want to be contrarians. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. I've been wrong before. I've been wrong about trades before. I hope, for the Cowboys' sake, I'm wrong. I hope I look back at this and I'm loud, obnoxious, emotional, what have you. But I also know what this organization hasn't accomplished in over 30 years. I also know what I see other teams doing that have been successful in different iterations of rosters, of coaches, what have you, and that have gotten it done. People that have moved off of dead money. It's called being a capologist, understanding the cap, right? Oh, there's people that defend Jerry. There's people that defend. Look, I understand, and there's also those people that the other people I don't rock with are folks that were gassing up Micah from his rookie year to now, and the moment he's advocating for himself and wants to get paid, whatever it again, that's business, right? But now everybody wants to only talk about his flaws. Oh, well, he didn't get it done in the play. Nobody's gotten it done in the playoffs on this team, in this organization. That is not on one person. Micah didn't put himself in coverage against Green Bay in that game on passing downs. All of a sudden, trying to pay middle linebacker. That was the staff. That was the organization that decided that. Guys come here, ball out, create value for themselves, become stars, and then waste away. Yeah, the stadium still be filled because the brand is strong, the value is there, and there's a lot of very casual Cowboys fans. This is not a great fan base, in my opinion. It's a big fan base, and we're a national fan base, but it's not like a diehard fan base. This shit wouldn't ride in Philly. There's no way you could do this in Philly and show up to your stadium when the season starts and everything's sweet. This shit wouldn't ride in New York. And it's not like I mean, the Giants have been terrible, right? Like they've been horrible. And but here's the difference. When they decided to move on from Saquon Barkley, look how how they've been roasted. Mavs fans are different. I want to make that clear. Mavs fans are different from Cowboys fans culture wise. Yes, totally understood. And I know Cowboys fans are going to be on the fan and all these stations. You know, that's more of the actual fan base. But the people that go to games are different. And those of you who go to that stadium all the time know what I mean by that. It is not the same people that are reflective of this fan base. I told my friend that I was talking to before I came on air. Always fans that you see at road games. Cowboys fans you at stadium every week. That is not all of them. I'm not putting everybody under one umbrella, but like a lot of those folks there are there for vibes, to buy merch, to to be on their knees for the Jones family and to keep like they will go no matter what. They will be there no matter what. It's a sign of status in the DFW area. They don't want these are the same people that will tell you to sit down on third down when you stand up in your seat. Same people. Like the fact that that's even a problem in our stadium tells you everything you need to know. Okay. So I'm not talking about Mavs fans. I'm a Mavs season ticket holder, even though I'm a Spurs fan. But so I'm around these people. That's it is the energy is different with the fan bases. I just want to make that very clear. But Joe Smith said Jerry looked at Parsons like, y'all, I needed that joke. I needed that one. That's funny. Dak should have taken a pay cut. At this point, get all your money. You play for this organization, you better get your money. Are you kidding me? You play for this organization, get your money. Look how many people they've wasted just in the last like since the Parcells era. I mean, I saw Demarcus Ware his tweet. You know, it's sad that the Jones family couldn't even give a heads up to brother Michael. Brother Michael Irvin's up there on ESPN trying to spin for them, right? Trying to spin for them, and they make him look like a fool. They made Michael Irvin look like a fool. They couldn't even at least drop dime real quick if this stuff was about it. They don't care. It's my heart, man, because at the end of the day, it's like I don't feel like we're in the same league contention wise to win. I care about winning. I want to win. I want to be a good team. I want to feel like I have a legit chance in January. I want to feel like my team's tough, and they're in it for the wrong reasons. Now I sound like I'm on the fucking Bachelor, they're here for the wrong reasons. Um, just waste, waste, waste. They'll put up numbers. Go ahead and get Lamb. Shoot, Javonte Williams, George. Get them in fantasy. They'll cook. They'll cook. They'll need to. Matt Eberflus is going to have to work wonders with this group. I mean, Trayvon's not. I mean, even the guys that we still got are not necessarily healthy. I mean, Overshown is coming off a knee. Trayvon's coming off a knee. Bland's coming back. Like, and none of those people are up front. We got people up front. We have, like, my buddy's like, well, at least Houston made the team. We always get excited about these guys that made the squad, or we're excited about, oh man, maybe Solomon Thomas can have a breakout season. This is gross. This is gross. But I love I'm mad and I feel this way because I love my team. I love this big stupid team here in Arlington, Texas. I love them, and I was a Micah Parsons fan. I wanted to pay Micah. I think he was, for the most part. Do I think he was worth Myles Garrett money? No, but you don't just get game records like that. Don't grow on trees. Guys with that ability, again, guys that shift other people's game plans, do not grow on trees, especially in the front seven. It's really hard to get those guys. And then to trade him to the ops is crazy. We're not talking about signing somebody like when we signed Dion in free agency and he was with the 49ers and it was like a bidding war. But we traded him to Green Bay. And this man over here crying, the same general manager crying about losing to Green Bay. So Green Bay, how many times has Green Bay whooped your ass, dicked you down, and done you crazy over the last decade? How many times has it happened? These Green Bay Packers. This is what you do to your fan base. Jerry and them, they play every game in the book of disrespect, by the way. I'm not surprised by that. They also said they didn't know the name of his agent. They did that on purpose. Well, also, David Mulugeta is not going anywhere. What does this mean for guys that are, guys that he's affiliated with right now in college? Like, his pipeline's crazy. David Mulugeta is not going anywhere. So for future, I mean, we still have two guys on the team, I believe, Damone Clark and are but I'm talking about like star players, not role players or complimentary or Jags. I'm talking about star players. David Mullig, like, are we just out of that business now? So we're cutting ourselves off to a whole pipeline of players in free agency, in the draft, because these agents have power. We saw that today. These agents have power. And if their client's not getting what they want, they will find somebody else that will. Leverage be damned. Leverage be damned, they will find something else. Because the Green Bay Packers and David Mulugeta have been like this recently. Like, you couldn't even get the guy out of the conference. Golden gonna get a Super Bowl year one. If they're, would you be surprised? Would you be surprised? I mean, let me go look at Green Bay's defense now. With I mean, here's the other thing too, right? Of course, he's going to compare it to the Herschel Walker trade. It's to push the same rhetoric with the fan base, with people that don't think for themselves. That trade that in the documentary he said was Tex Schramm's idea, by the way. That's what Jerry said. Jimmy said it was his. Jerry in the documentary said it was Tex Schramm's idea. Tex Schramm, who he fired with Tom Landry, but that's neither here nor there. So yeah, you're looking at a defense with Rashawn Gary, Quay Walker, Micah Parsons, Devontae Wyatt, Edge Cooper, Xavier McKinney in the secondary. I mean, the corners are still meh for Green Bay. The secondary is pretty meh, but with that front seven, that's a very very good front seven. Also, people that say they don't want to be Cowboys fans anymore, I don't blame you. I'm in. I mean, my mom, may she rest in peace, raised me as a Cowboys fan. That's my connection to her. It's bigger than, again, they own the team, but they don't own my allegiance and all that type of stuff. So it's bigger than that. But I totally get it. I totally, especially if you became a fan, just as you started to enjoy football, you found reasons to root for a certain team every Sunday, certain players that you like. I don't blame you. I used to feel some type of way about those fans. I don't anymore. Jerry said they might trade those picks. I mean, yeah, to move up in the draft. That's like, sure, sure. If they like somebody, they'll use those picks that's ammunition to move up. But the picks as they stand right now are going to be in the 20s at minimum, unless this Green Bay team just gets so injured and falls apart. Like they're 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 pushing themselves into contention. This is a Green Bay team that was really ravaged by injuries last year. Didn't have a wide receiver one, and still made the playoffs. Still made the playoffs. And you're adding Micah Parsons to a young group, and we're going to see in what, guys, week 4. Week 4 is when we see Micah Parsons. If Jerry doesn't care, why should I? Yeah, that's why the videos haven't been pumping out on the Cowboys like I used to. It's not that I don't care. It's just hard. It's hard. It's hard to get fired up about Brian Schottenheimer as my head coach and play caller. Again, love he said all the right things. He's got good persona for compared to Jason Garrett and Mike McCarthy of the past. But as a coordinator, as an X and O guy, he's not even Kellen Moore. He's not even Mike McCarthy. Historically, again, I'm just going off the data of what he has shown. His 10 plus years of being a play caller and his 20 plus years of being in the NFL as an I hope I'm wrong. But I think Dak and CD and them are just going to have to manual a whole bunch of stuff. And they can probably churn out 9 wins just with us having, I don't think we have the hardest schedule in the world, in my opinion. And I do think that they'll score points. Right. I would take Dan Quinn and Kellen over Brian Schottenheimer. Come on. What are we doing? What are we doing? Brian Schottenheimer has been in the NFL for 25 years. It's not new. Again, if he was the head coach, because I like the staff that he's built for the most part, I really do like the staff. If you were telling me Brian Schottenheimer was just the head coach and was a CEO or coach vibes, and we were letting Clayton or Junior call the plays, shit, even Scott Tolzien call the plays, somebody new call the plays, and let Matt Eberflus do his thing on defense, I'm cool with that. Still not the most fired up because you don't want to go out and actually spend real money and get the best coaches possible. Because then that person, if they were, God forbid, they were successful, will get the credit, not Jerry. So it has to be a hand puppet of Jerry to get Jerry said credit for winning. It's not about winning. It's about winning in the most convenient way for us as the Jones family. That's what it's about. And obviously making the company, i.e. the Cowboys, as marketable and entertaining as possible. Think about this. This trade has occurred literally 1 week before the opener versus the Philadelphia Eagles. The Cowboys are going to live in the media cycle. Outside of the college football days, the Cowboys are going to live during the week. They're going to live they're going to be at the top of the media cycle. And that's exactly what they want. That's exactly what Jerry Jones wants. Is to be at the top of that. Just, we're talking about it right now, right? This is our experience as Cowboys fans. This is what we're used to. Um, Again, just like Tony Romo and them in the past, just like Dak Prescott now, the players will manual themselves to a certain amount of wins. But at the end of the day, are they championship contenders? Hell no. Hell no. Cont- well, will highest people in the division? Sure. That the Eagles are obviously looking to try to repeat and all that. You know, not to mention they've won 2 Super Bowls in the last 8 years, and with 2 completely different rosters, coaches. But it's crazy when your organization knows what they're doing and just always what you're doing, you can always build it back up. Jerry doesn't know what he's doing. And what's frustrating is he hasn't learned from the past. It's just ego driven still in a different way. I think he's become more savvy with his words over the years. When you watch that documentary, you see how blunt he was in the 90s, or when he was in the lawsuit with the NFL. It's much more blunt. He's become more savvy with his words, but it's still the same ego driven stuff behind the scenes, especially when it comes to how they treat the players. This is an entertainment first organization, not a football first organization. This is an entertainment first organization, not a football first organization. A football first organization, a true football first organization, you get a deal done, no matter how grimy that deal was, you get a deal done behind the scenes, and it's just a press release. What's the last big player that the Cowboys had where they had that type of situation happen? Where you just wake up one day, like Josh Allen's extension that he got recently. You just wake up one day and you just hear your superstar players re-up for 4 years. They were negotiating behind the scenes for months and got it done. No hoopla, no stress to the fan base. It is what it is. Boys Will Be Boys was a hell of an entertaining read. It certainly was. I have that book here somewhere in this office. Yeah, right there. Back there. Boys Will Be Boys. Dak's contract situation, by the way, is why he's now at 60 million a year, and we have cap. Great example. But the Baltimore Ravens, who are my Super Bowl pick this year, I think the Ravens are finally going to break through with some of the moves they've made. But they got Kyle Hamilton's deal done. No hoopla. Boom. Not to say that other teams don't have drama with, contract disputes, players, all that type of stuff. We've seen with, but it's always the cheap ass guys or Jerry. In the case both, like the Browns or the Bengals, teams like that, right? But Dak's going back to Dak's contract. I mean, we've seen $40 million, $60 million. Like I said, it's all relative to the cap. As the collective bargaining agreement increases, and all there's more revenue sharing, there's more money. Everybody's money is gonna go. Like, we haven't pushed the brink like the Rams have, and actually gone for it, or like the Packers are right now, actually gone for it. The fan base would feel better if we actually did that. If we actually really truly pushed the brink, actually participated in free agency for once, like for real, push the brink. We're making aggressive trades and leveraging all money, all this type of stuff. And if we came up short, at least the fan base could say, you know what, they tried to go all in. Not saying all in and then doing the opposite like they did last offseason. Right? Didn't he say after that 2023 collapse to Green Bay that we were going quote unquote all in? What does that even mean? All in to me is what the Rams have done multiple times, what the Eagles have done multiple times. The Chiefs live on that freaking edge. As long as you have your star guy, you should always be in win now mode. To me, or else why are you paying a quarterback $60 million if you're not in win now mode? That doesn't even make sense. You should be pushing the brink. If you're paying a quarterback that much money, you're paying a receiver that much money, then you should be going all in for the whole freaking team. Or else let these people go. and see, and then if you want to build through your draft or your scouting department and you think you can just hit on the next wave of players, be my guest. I don't know. I'm just. This is not the Herschel Walker trade. I know that. I don't think that's going to age poorly. Unless they draft. They'd have to draft 2 Hall of Famers with those picks. For it to be, like, seriously. The first pick out of that Herschel Walker trade was them getting Emmett. In like the late teens of the first round. That right there, like, you drafted the all-time leading rusher. That right there paid for the trade. Then you get, guys like Russell Maryland and all these offensive linemen and defensive linemen. Like, come on, man. It's not the same thing. But we got a defensive tackle now. Woohoo. Micah's been assive lately. Ass at what? What are we talking about? That's where I just gotta say that's the other thing. Okay, so that's great point. Thank you, Tex Mex. Thank you. At least do this shit in the off season, like truly during the off season, where you can actually shop people, get better, especially since they're reporting that they tried to trade him a couple years ago. Like, no, is it pathetic? Like, it's really bad. Like, at least during the off season, you can get more value. When you're trading somebody right, literally 7 days before the opener, you're not getting the same value. Last four put stats batter. I disagree. You got to look at the performance. Tape over stats, in my opinion. What does the tape say? I agree with you to an extent, Steve, that we haven't been getting turnovers in playoff games. We haven't been disruptive in playoff games. But a lot of that is also due to the game plan and how players are used. Like, again, them deciding to put Micah in coverage for God knows what reason on third downs to start the Packers game. Like, you know, you got to ask Dan Quinn about that. Like, like the player can't, he can only do something, like, he can only do what he's asked to do when you put him that far out of position, right? He's not in position to make those plays. But to my greater point is the whole organization has been terrible in the playoffs for 30 years. So, because watch, Green Bay gets in a playoff game and this boy gets 2 or 3 sacks. We say that about people, and then all of a sudden they not on the team no more, and they go somewhere else and cook or be productive, and now that narrative is a false narrative, because I believe the issues in the playoffs are team oriented. I don't put it on one player. Nobody has played well for us in the playoffs. Some people have put up stats, sure, but no, we have not as an entire organization. Nobody has performed well in the playoffs. You know who else had? I'll give you an example, Steve. DeMarcus Ware. Go look at DeMarcus Ware playoff games for the Cowboys versus DeMarcus Ware for the Denver Broncos, opposite Von Miller. Like, Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley goes from the Giants to the Eagles. Derrick Henry goes from the Titans to the Ravens. When you go to a good organization, a lot can change. A lot can change. Like, Mike is going to be able to play wherever at a high level in that Green Bay scheme. There's a lot of versatility with those backers. And again, they got to figure out their secondary. I don't like their secondary on paper, but that front seven with where he's going to be able to line up, like, it's going to be a lot harder to game plan for him in a playoff game than it was for him in Dallas. But you also got to consider when Micah's playing. Again, this is what I keep reiterating this. The opposing offensive coordinator has to. There's certain things the opposing coordinator can't run out of his playbook or his menu when Micah Parsons on the field. Just off his presence, there's certain things you can't run, or you have to have a tight end over here, right? There's certain things you just can't do. But I'm sorry, like, This reminds me of when we went into the 2014 or 26, like when we had just a bunch of jags on the defensive line in those games. Like we're trying to get pressure with Nick Hayden, and we're wondering why Aaron Rodgers with one freaking hamstring is still cooking us, and we can't get him on the ground. That's what it's like when you don't have a Micah Parsons up front, by the way, in a playoff game. We've seen what that looks like. When you don't have a difference maker up front and a bunch of Jags are running around, it's way easier to stop those guys. And by the way, the other team gets to deploy and do whatever they want to do offensively without worry. Makes a difference. Jerry, I hope, I really hope you're right and I'm wrong. That's what this comes down to. I hope you're right and I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. For the sake of this team, for the sake of the Cowboys, I just want to win. And I understand if he didn't want to be here anymore and you couldn't talk him out of his trade request, trade demand. We don't want somebody here that doesn't want to be here. Totally get that. But where's the value, man? Because Kenny Clark and 2 first-round picks is not enough value for Micah Parsons at 25, 26 years old. It is not. Mm-mm. I need a couple threes in there. I need a fourth and a fifth, bro, on top of all that. I'm not saying you can get 3 firsts, especially if Kenny Clark's in the deal and his money. But to have no other, cascade or volume of picks beyond just the 2 first, to me, that's not enough value. Or to get another, like, shit, get Van Ness or Gary from them. All they had to give up was Clark. They like anyway. Yeah, this is the same team that traded a 4th-round pick for Jonathan Mingo. Exactly. 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 I don't know if I want Anthony Hill to come to this team for his sake. That's the funniest part, Drew. That's one of the funniest parts. When people are saying, well, and there's no guarantee we're going to stop the run, by the way, with Kenny Clark. Could we be better? Sure. But there's no guarantee. But we're trading a generational player, somebody off to one of the greatest starts in NFL history as a pass rusher, the hardest trait to find. And people over here are like, yeah, you know what? You can stop the run. Yeah, we ain't watching the same league. We're not watching the same league. I'm sorry. We're not watching the same league. I watched Von Miller win a Super Bowl almost on his own back. And I'm not saying that Micah is Von Miller or anything, but I'm saying those are that's the type of player and the type of skill set at a position of need that to have that impact on winning at the highest level and the value. What's our solution? Luck. There is no solution. Think like they're going against the grain in so many different areas. They've gone against the grain with the head coach. They've gone against the grain with making the head coach the play caller from the previous step. They can never just completely start over with the coaches. That's number one. Everybody always has to have a tie to the previous person that was fired, which always creates mess. We've never hired coaches clean outside of Parcells. Never hired coaches clean. Yeah, I said, look, that's the only that's the we would need to get so lucky or somebody that just balls out regardless to win. I mean that. That's legit my answer. It's luck. I'm sorry, Trent. This is my big ass incompetent team here we're talking about. Good luck to your Lions. um, some people say, well, if when Jerry passes, things will get better. Not with Stephen Jones. I don't see the vision with Stephen Jones. That's why I'm like, I can't even like. They're not interested. They're cash poor, by the way, relative to the other owners in the league. And Jerry also went into that in detail in the documentary. If you were paying attention, the man told you he borrows money better than anybody else. So, on top of them being cash poor, they don't want to solve that problem by saying, "Hey, let's sell 25% of the team or 30% of the team to some billionaires, so that we don't have to worry about holding on to dollars because this is our primary way of making money, unlike everybody else, where it's a hobby for them owning the team because they've made their billions elsewhere." This is where Jerry's made his billions. Oil made Jerry a millionaire. This has made Jerry a billionaire. This is where his money is tied into. That's not the case for people like Stan Kroenke or the Walton family or the Hunt family. So they're also cash poor. That's why Steven never wants to pay anybody. Because those dollars, it feels like it's coming out of his own pocket relative to uh, Josh Harris and the 14 freaking billionaire owners that are in a collective that own the Washington Commanders. And look at the big stadium they built. Look at how quickly they were able to turn their organization around once they were competent from top down. Washington. It was damn near overnight. The thing about the NFL that's funny to me that people don't see is there's a reason why the usual suspects are there, at least contending year over year. May not be always the same team winning every year, but it's the same usual suspects at the top. And half the league doesn't know what the fuck they're doing. So when somebody gets in there that does know what they're doing and knows how to have organizational structure, they shine immediately. It's obvious. It's obvious with how they draft. It's obvious what they do in free agency. It's obvious with their roster management. Yeah, yeah. Mozzie, people like Mozzie Smith are still on this team. ESPN's really, yeah. But hey, you know, y'all go to the stadium when we have our home opener. Go buy those jerseys. Go take those pictures with Rowdy, and you get fired up, Cowboys fans. You get fired up. I'll see y'all next week when I react to the Philly game. I'm out, and I gotta get on the road. So thank y'all for viewing. Hit the like button, subscribe, what have you. If you want to get on here and disagree with me, please do. If you agree, please do. What have you. But I'm tired and I'm out.